Good morning. I don't know why I keep saying good morning. Welcome to the Elevate Your Potential podcast and YouTube channel. I am super excited to have Annika here with us today. Annika, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Nikki. It's so beautiful to be here. And yeah, so where to start? So I am a Mastery Method certified health and life coach, and we've met through the certification. Before that, look, I am originally from Germany. I now live in Australia. I have been here for 10 years. I love, love, love traveling. I'm an absolute freedom advocate. One of my top values. And yeah, just doing life. I experienced health problems and symptoms. And, over the course of years, I trialed different methods, trialed different approaches until finding what finally works for me. And that's very much an approach of inner and outer well-being. And I'm so happy to share more about that in our conversation today.
That is so beautiful.
Hmm.
So what got you started? Like
In
like in your in wanting to coach? Like what got you started on your coaching journey?
Yeah, very much my own journey. So I started personal development about 10 years ago, and it was about the same time that I was, looking to heal some symptoms. At the time, it was pretty minor, I would say, compared to what it ended up being a few years down the road. But at the time, it was basically a lot of inflammation in the body, and it was injuries that wouldn't heal, and I would get like back pain. And I saw so many physicians, like your physio,
Mm.
osteo, massage therapists, bone therapists, acupuncture, like you name it, I've seen them all. And none of them could really get to the root and help me like overcome this and truly be pain and symptom free. And it took me years and years of trial and error to find what truly works for me. And it is a combination of a few different modalities. And that's what I hand over to my clients today to sort of shorten the pain curve, the symptom curve, and just help them, yeah, live a life in well-being. And, you know, oftentimes we think like you go see a health coach, but at the end of the and you will improve your health, but at the end of the day it leads to improvement in all other areas of your life. Like that's really what I learned in my own journey and in witnessing other people today. Like I was looking to improve my health, but by doing that and doing the inner and the outer work, like I saw improvements in my relationships with my partner, with my friends. Like I started attracting all these beautiful humans like in my life, where before I was just coming from the programming of I don't belong or I'm not sure who my people are. And so you start with one area and it just trickles into all these other amazing areas of your life, and life just keeps getting better, and I love it. And that's what I want others to have as well.
I love that. That you give me like chills. That's just absolutely beautiful. When you say health coach, can you differentiate between like what you do as a health coach versus what a fitness coach would do?
Oh, absolutely. So I would say a fitness coach focuses on the physique, fitness, as in, whatever a client's goals may be, for example, a certain amount of weight or like leanness, toned muscles, physique. I would say a fitness coach focuses on more of the outer aspects of the body.
Mm,
Whereas a health coach, or I'm going to speak for myself here, me as a health coach, I focus very much on well-being and living a life symptom-free and
mm,
equipped with a toolbox that helps you. For example, you feel something coming on, you know what to do. You feel we've been having a lot of interesting things floating through the atmosphere in the last few years. So you basically have a toolbox that you can revert back to whenever you need it. And that's what I'm very much a stand for, to just be equipped and to just feel confident about what and how you can support your body and how you can strengthen your immune system naturally, for example.
that's so cool. And thank you for thank you for going into what you do versus what a fitness coach does. I don't know about all of the listeners, but when I think health, I automatically think fitness. So I
Mm.
appreciate that you broke down what you do as a health coach versus what a fitness coach does. So it
Great
sounds like
question.
the inner, yours is more like inside out versus kind of like outside in. And
Yeah.
I know that we know what we're talking about because of our mastery method certification. Um, so it's absolutely beautiful, and I appreciate the breakdown of that. So for somebody that's just starting on like a health journey, what would you like what advice would you give them?
It totally depends on the person. Like,
I was gonna say loaded question.
it's a very loaded question. But, to simplify it, there is an inner and an outer approach to well-being. And the outer approach is, the tools you have in the physical, the food that you eat, the you know sleep, the water, the all of the physical, that's in the outer. And then you have your inner aspect to well-being, and that's dealing with the mind and dealing with the thoughts and judgments you may have against yourself, against others, really looking at that, being so honest about that and getting to know
Mm,
yourself so much better. And then you also have the soul aspect, right? Like really getting to know yourself, like who are you as a person? Like we are not taught that, unfortunately. And there is so much depth and beauty in each and every single one of us. And or me as a coach, what I get to do as a coach is help people reconnect to themselves and
mm,
learn what their values are, learn what their like version of alignment is, and like rich and aligned life for them is, and how they can start living that today and move into that direction today. And that's very much where the soul aspect comes in, like realigning ourselves with our soul. And when you meet like the mind, body, and soul in that way, like it's just incredible, the amount of alignment that happens, the amount of flow that comes into your life. Like, yeah, it's truly beautiful.
I love that. That's so cool. I'm
Mm.
glad you brought up values too, because as you were talking about, as I asked you a very loaded question, and you have a brilliant answer, I was thinking about values, and you said it as well, that like one of your values is freedom. And as we are in 2024, one of the things that I've realized is that I don't think I've ever realized it until kind of now, is that my goals very much have to be in alignment with my values. So I didn't set resolutions for this year. I've set goals. I have business goals, I have personal goals, but none of which are like out of integrity with my values. So I'm glad that you brought values up because I think it's super important. And I think for that mind, body, soul connection for myself, even as we're talking, it feels like it very much needs to be in integrity.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Integrity and authenticity is
Mm,
huge. And I don't know whether you're very familiar with Gabor Mate's material, but he says, for example, that, as children growing up, we, have the need for belonging and we have the need for authenticity.
mm,
And we often sacrifice the need for authenticity in order to belong. So I feel like our work as humanity at the moment or as adults like is to undo the programming that we cannot have both, and that it is safe to be our authentic selves, and that we belong no matter where we are, no matter where we go. We will always belong to ourselves first and foremost, to something greater, and then to everyone else. So yeah, I love that you brought in the values, because it very much starts with the value work and getting clear on who you really are, and what is important to you, and then aligning that with your goals. That is very much where coaching comes in. So
mm,
yeah, I love that you did that for yourself, start of the year. And I love that you didn't set resolutions. I haven't done it in years, and I highly recommend for everyone not to set resolutions. What I love doing personally is setting a word for the year. I don't know whether you
mm,
you do that, but like at the end of every year, I tune in and I just ask, what is like my theme for next year? What is something that I'm calling in more of? What is something that I'm stepping into? And for example, last year it was connection for me.
mm,
And at the start of the year, like connection was a very loaded word for me, because I felt like I didn't have that in my life, and I didn't have it to the depth that I knew is available for us here on planet Earth. And so there was like a sense of shame around that, and I very much want to normalize that as well, because it's by sitting with that and allowing whatever discomfort comes up with that, that really is where the healing opportunities are, and that's where
mm,
we get to integrate those parts and patterns and move through it. And I had some healing sessions around it myself, and by the middle of the year I had like the most beautiful connections in my life. And like I was mind blown by how much an intention and a goal can really direct our path. So yes,
mm.
to that intentionality, that's so beautiful.
I I love the word for the year. I love that yours was connection. Um, I haven't done that for the last couple of years. However, I do have it for this year, and mine is community for this year.
Ah, incredible. So similar. That's beautiful.
Um, and I especially love because I'm also building this community with Elevate Your Potential. And I keep saying the word love, but I love that I also get to take Elevate Your Potential into like our certification community as well. and reconnect with people from ICM.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, such beautiful humans.
Right, right. And it's so cool. Like you're in Australia, I'm in Southern Ontario and Canada. Like we've met some incredible people.
Mm,
I think it's so
sure
cool.
have.
So, how do you work with your clients? Like what do your packages and containers look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So it very much is inner and outer. So I get my clients to set an inner goal as well as an outer goal. So to give you an idea, an outer goal could be to overcome migraines,
Mm,
and an inner goal could be to feel at peace within oneself. So to me, it's both. And I, so we then lay it out and we work with what is most pressing. If it is the migraines, we start focusing on that, but then naturally we move towards the inner goal as well. So yeah, it very much depends on the client, but there is like throughout every package that I do, you will always find the mind, the body, and the soul aspect throughout all of it.
that's so cool. So do you do just one-to-one or do you have like some group coaching or
Yeah, I'm doing one-to-ones at the moment. So focusing on one-to-ones for this year. Until the end of the year, what happens after that, I don't know. I'll keep that open, but yeah, focusing on one-on-ones at the moment.
That's so cool. So if somebody comes to you and they don't have an idea of what their inner goal would be,
Mhm.
how could you guide them to maybe find what their inner goal could be?
Yeah, great question. So with in such cases, you definitely want to start with what we talked about. You want to start with the values. You want to start with getting to know yourself more. And by doing that, you automatically like get a sense of what it is that your soul is yearning, what it is that you do want. And we often say I don't know, but many times we actually do know if we dig deeper, and that's what a coach very much does and is here for, to dig deeper with you and to hold you in love and safety as we're doing that.
Mm, that's so cool. I can just picture the like safe space that you hold for your clients
Mm.
and that you curate and co-create such a it just the like the vibe I get from you is just like it's just such a safe space to be seen and to be heard.
Yeah, very, very much so. Like it's one of my core principles in my practice to hold everyone in safety, because that's what was transformative for me. And I know how healing it can be, and I know how healing it is for others to
Mm,
experience that as well. Safety and compassion are like at the root. They are really at the core of healing within, and reprogramming ourselves to love and safety is, yeah, magical.
and I so appreciate somebody that can hold safety.
Mm.
I was in a coaching package before we did the mastery method certification, and safety has always been a big thing for me personally, but I remember doing ICM and not feeling safe about 6 weeks in.
Mm.
Maybe even a bit longer, but I remember we had a coaching, it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday call or whatever, and asking Alyssa like how, like we were coaching with multiple people, like how do we bring that safety in?
Mm.
And I remember her saying like excuse me, but we evoke it within ourselves. But not I and at that point I was like, we're like I felt like a baby coach, right? Like not that I didn't know what I was doing, but I was still learning
Yes.
how to like learn the tools and integrate it for myself.
Yes.
So having somebody that's more experienced in that is safe within themselves and like can expand that safety for someone else, I think is beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, that you said that so beautifully, because we co-regulate, and if you have someone that can hold that for you and that can model it for you and that can show your system that it is safe for you to move into that direction, like your system is naturally inclined to follow. And being safety translate to the parasympathetic state of the nervous system, and that is our healing and rest and digest state.
Mm.
So that's when we can actually heal. So that's why it's not just what we eat, it's not just how much exercise or sleep we get, but it's really, yeah, such a interconnected web of inner and outer healing.
That's so cool. This is such a cool, like, I'm sure we could talk for hours about everything just because
Yeah.
it's just so cool. And it's like coaching and healing is such like a vast, I want to say topic. I don't think that's the right word for what I'm trying to say, but it's so cool. And I think we're just getting started. Like I think society is just getting started in this healing, and we're all like, I've got you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. Like we're society. I love how Lisa says, like, we're in kindergarten, we're in kindergarten, just, evolving, learning, and healing as a collective. And, we are more evolved than our parents, and the next generation will be more evolved than us. And it's so beautiful to learn from one another and to, yeah, integrate trauma. And that probably brings me to the next point I would love to talk about, which is trauma, because I feel like it is a huge aspect in every single person's life, whether they know it or not. And so with trauma, we have two different types of trauma. We have the big T trauma and we have the small T trauma. And the big T trauma is, the heavy stuff that can happen here on planet Earth, like any form of abuse, rape. You have physical violence, you have emotional violence. That all is classified as big T trauma, whereas with the small T trauma, every single person of us carries some shape or form of it. And
Mm.
small T trauma can look like self-doubt, self-judgments. It can look like procrastination. It can look like like perfectionism. It can look like high achievements, like being a
Mm.
high achiever and trying to manage your outer world through that. There is many shapes and forms of the small T trauma, and the invitation that we have as humanity in this very moment is to lean in and to, find these safe spaces where we can open up and just get really honest and be held in love and safety so that we can heal within. And once we do that, it's not always pretty and easy. I'm not gonna lie. but but when you come out the other side, oh my goodness, like the world just opens up. Like the world becomes your oyster. You are, you're walking through life with self-responsibility and with agency of being the creator of your own life.
Mm.
And it just becomes such a beautiful way of living and being that, yeah, you wouldn't want to have it any other way. So yeah, it's just beautiful.
It's so cool to be seen because when you brought up trauma, I remember the very first coaching package. And I personally don't have big T trauma that I remember yet. Not to say it won't ever come up if I have had it, but anyway, it hasn't come up yet that I've had big T trauma. But I remember the coach I was working with, she's like, you have like a lot of small T trauma. And it's just how much that can impact somebody's life. Like, I just kind of want to preface as well. I'm very privileged to not have to not have big T trauma, because a
Mm,
lot of people do. A lot of people do carry that weight and that, um, not even like weight, but they carry the heaviness of big T trauma. And I'm very privileged to not have had that happen, whether that be through racism or sexism or whatever the case is. I
yes.
personally haven't had it, and I'm very privileged to not have had it. However, I agree. I think everybody has had small T trauma in some form.
Mm, yeah, and small T trauma is just as profound. For example, like my one of my core stories was I am alone, and that
Mm,
was from second grade in primary school when I had like toxic friends around me and they would cast me out periodically. And that this belief I am alone and I don't belong very much shaped my life, and
mm,
it does continue to shape our lives until we get brave enough to look at the core stories. And that's when we take responsibility, and that's when we, with guidance, get to reprogram our subconscious and reprogram it to what it is that is actually true, which is belonging and love and safety, and that is available for each and every single one of us.
I love that. That like
Mm.
warms my heart.
Mm.
You are such a beautiful soul.
So are you. Mm.
So, one of the questions I have been asking, I don't remember where this quote is from, but I've heard the term that success leaves clues. So, knowing that success leaves clues, what is one piece of advice you could give for someone?
Yeah, so success leaves clues. If I was to apply it to the health world, I would say that your pain is lessening, your symptoms are lessening, you start feeling really good in your body,
Mm,
you start feeling connected to yourself. Like, the clues are, they don't come in a piece of paper, or, like it's much more of noticing the miracles. It's like noticing the small moments, noticing the feelings, like just, yeah, really becoming so much more in tune with yourself that you're like, I feel so much better than how I used to 2 months ago.
mm,
And those are your clues to success in the health world.
I love that. I love that.
Mm.
So, do you have any book recommendations?
Oh gosh, where do I start? I absolutely have. So I'm gonna have to start with the medical medium book series. Any medical medium book is mind-blowing and incredible, and it very much helped me get my body back on the physical level.
Mm,
So for anyone new to medical medium, I would recommend the first book, which is Medical Medium Healing Chronic Illness, and I think the fourth book, which is Cleanse to Heal. So those
mm,
two are amazing to start with. On the mind side of things, I love Byron Katie's Loving What Is.
mm,
That one is a beautiful book. And one of my favorite ever books is called Dying to Be Me
Okay.
by Anita Moyani. And it's basically a woman diagnosed with cancer, dying of cancer, and having a near-death experience, and then finding her worth in the outer realm, and then coming back in and living her most authentic life, that before that she always felt like she was doing things for everyone to please everyone else. Whereas now she had found her authenticity and the strength to be in her authenticity, and how that, helped her get her health back. Yeah, so
Wow.
good.
Do you use affirmations within your coaching?
Affirmations is an interesting one, because at the start of my personal growth development journey, manifestation and affirmations were huge. And I felt like they never worked for me. And I couldn't understand why until I went through Alyssa's program. And so when affirmations don't work, it means that your body doesn't feel safe to do that, to call that in, or you don't feel worthy enough to call that in. So, oftentimes it's so far away that, like, in the opposite, it's so far away that our bodies are just not on board. So your body is your subconscious, so you really want your body to be on board to get to anywhere. So one step of doing that is you can reframe it. For example, if you want to call in more abundance, and an affirmation that you would have used may have been, I am abundant. And that may not feel true. So what you can do is, like, every day I'm noticing more steps towards abundance. Like, every day I notice a little more of abundance in my life. And that feels much more gentle, much more doable, and your body is on board. And so you can break it down in certain ways like that to have your subconscious be on board, to actually be able to reprogram it in that way.
I love the reframe on that. And it makes me think, somebody I interviewed a little while ago who's also from ICM. I think they're called O formations, where it's almost like you ask yourself a question in the form of an affirmation. And that way your brain looks for the evidence that it's true.
Love that.
And
Yes.
and ever since that episode, and it hasn't, I'm super excited for all of these episodes to air. Because people are gonna be like, oh, I like Annika, or like I love this community that I'm building, that we are building, because it's a collective thing, because I'm interviewing people like you. But I love that, because there might be many people that are like, affirmations don't work for me. And then with this tidbit that you just dropped, they're going to be like, oh my God, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. Plus, that other episode that you just shared, like, just really creating your own toolbox of what works for you. Like, that's where the magic is at.
Yeah. I'm so excited. I so appreciate you. Where can people find you?
Yeah. So I am Annika Ludwig on Instagram, or annikaludwig.com. That's my website, and they can find me there.
I love it. Is there anything that you like, any final words that you want to say that you feel like you haven't been able to say yet?
I feel like what I'd love for people, like a message for people, is, if you haven't found what works yet, keep going,
Mm,
because what will resonate to you and your soul and your body is out there. And it will find you at the most divine time, and all you get to do is keep being in hope and keep praying if that's what speaks to you. Keep being open. Yeah.
I love that. That's
Mm.
so heartwarming and such amazing advice.
Mm, thank you. Yeah, I wish somebody would have said that to me in my darkest times.
Yeah.
So keep going. Yeah,
And one of the things I I have learned, I think, since doing ICM, is keep going, but find what works for you.
exactly.
Yeah.
Find what works for you and keep going until you do, because it's out there. I know that it is. Yeah.
Mm, that's so beautiful.
Mm,
Thank you so much for your time today. I so
thank you.
appreciate you. And I will, oh,
Thanks for having me.
oh, thank you for being here. I'm just gonna